Hi everybody, and welcome to this, our first webinar as part of the President's Council for Suppliers, Digital and Tech. Up on that screen there, you can see the fantastic array of companies that have come together to launch this group and make it possible for us to have webinars like this, but more importantly, to do the research that is necessary to drive this industry forward and make the most of this unique situation we find ourselves in as we come out of the pandemic, and our opportunity to grab this challenge and run with it, and make an enormous difference. There are two President's Councils. There is one for chief executives, and that of operators, and that is really looking at operational standards and what we can do operationally to drive forward the industry on the key words which you'll all I'm sure remember and don't need replaying to you from our own manifesto of health, digital, community and standards. And this ties in with the suppliers, digital and tech, and how we make the most of this. We all know that a lot of those standards, standard illnesses or health things, the top 10, whether that be obesity-led or type 2 diabetes or things like that, we've known for years and years the importance that the fitness industry plays in this, and this pandemic has thrown us right into the deep end, and we really must grasp this, and we must come out as a true health delivery partner. And that means we need to work alongside and be as professional in our delivery as the pharmaceutical industry and others, and that is without the deep pockets they have for lobbying, and remembering what they don't have that we do have, and that is movement and activity, that pill that can't be patented. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Jennifer, who sits on the board of EuropeActive, and since taking up the post has really got stuck in and working on so many of the different initiatives, but she acts as the secretariat for this particular council and pulls this together, and a lot of the thinking behind it, as well as leading us towards the, I'm sure you've already booked, FIBO of this year, and our own European Health and Fitness Forum. But we're going to crack on now. So I'm going to hand over to Jennifer. We've got two great guests. I'll leave her to do the introductions, and we look forward to your feedback. And most of all, we look forward to your enthusiasm in driving forward this industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. And once again, I'm Jennifer Halsall. I am on the board of EuropeActive. Actually, I think I hit the bingo card for getting involved in everything I possibly can get involved in with EuropeActive. I'm also the Chief Operating Officer for the Women in Fitness Association, and I have the pleasure of being the Secretary for the President's Council, Suppliers, Digital and Tech, which I think is a really exciting President's Council because it represents a lot of the other parts of the fitness sector ecosystem. So like traditionally, when we talk about the fitness sector, most people think of the physical clubs, of the physical boutiques, but like fit tech has really exploded in the past few years. And of course, through the lockdown, that's been the pivot that's happened with our industry. So it's really exciting to bring some of the greatest minds in fitness together on the table to figure out how we can continue to accelerate our sector and make ourselves even more visible and a more obvious solution to build the bridge between fitness and healthcare. And you were saying something about something that we had that the pharmaceutical company doesn't have. Well, we definitely have bigger biceps. I think that's definitely something we can put a stake in the ground and claim. But anyway, I digress. What I'd like to do is I'd like to talk about the major goals and initiatives that we have for the President's Council Supplier Digital and Tech. And one of them is to make the impact of the fitness sector visible. And we're going to do that by creating a European data hub. And that's why we have Steve Mann on the call from Ford Global, who's going to tell us a little bit more about how we do that, or how we're going to do that, and what we're going to learn about our sector. Steve.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jennifer, and thank you to EuropeActive for the opportunity to come and talk about this. What I'm actually going to do, I'm going to share my screen here so I can show a few slides about the initiative that we're going to kickstart and are sort of working towards at the moment. And really, what this is all about is taking what we know about the industry and what we've all sort of recognized for a long time, and about the information that we sit on and we collect together, and turning that into actionable intelligence and then actionable insight, so we can start to address some of the key issues that we face as a sector. And of course, one of those, as Jennifer quite quickly points out, is linking more effectively with healthcare, and then really helping politicians, stakeholders, decision makers to understand the scale, the value, and the influence of what we do as an industry and as a sector. And this European Data Hub idea is spawned from something we already do in the UK. So DataHub, Ford Global drive an initiative called DataHub here in the UK. And Ford Global, we're some kind of a consultancy working around the world on sport and physical activity strategy, but always driven by data, by insight, and by technology. And this is kind of how we've managed to bring this initiative together in the UK, and how we're going to replicate it across Europe. And this is the principle that underpins it, really, that we're able to connect different data from different sites or different delivery partners via the leisure management system providers, using an extract tool, so we're able to take that data from operators automatically, or via some kind of manual upload into a central repository or a central database, and then sort of bring that data in line with sector standards that we can establish, so that we can report against it effectively. And we're always comparing apples with apples, pairs with pairs, and really aligning the data that we have and collating it so it can be used in an effective way. And what we're able to do is, once we've got all that data together into that single database and processed in the same way, is then produce modules or applications that are useful for operators, for suppliers, for partners, or for stakeholders. And these are some examples of what we do in the UK, and some of which we're going to be replicating in Europe as well, whereby we're able to benchmark. So all these operator data coming together, we're able to help operators understand how they're performing versus other people in the sector, whether it be from the same subsector as them, private, public, in-house operators, whatever it might be. We can analyze that data and produce actionable insight off the back of it, and work very closely with operators to turn that insight into action. We can help people target members more effectively with geo-impact tools or market intelligence tools to help people market or communicate more effectively with members, because of course we've got that understanding of who they're currently engaged with. And then critically, for the work we're doing in Europe, is evidence that scale, value, and influence that I've referred to previously, to understand the social value that our sector provides as a collective, and to help monitor the workforce and engage with the workforce more effectively. And this, as we stand, is driven by a huge and powerful data set. So we currently have over 850 million visits tracked in the database. It's been collected over the last 5 years. And that's from 14 million individual unique participants, all of whom are identifiable. So we know roughly what those people were doing when they attended the site, where they're from, the deprivation status, and so on. So when I say identifiable, I don't mean we can look at the individual name or information about that individual person, but what we can do is get a rough idea of kind of where they're from, the activity they're doing, so that we can produce that insight off the back of it. And that's coming at the moment from over 2,500 sites sharing data. And what's critical is we've got 5,500 users kind of actioning insight and actioning kind of development off the back of that data. So it's being used massively across the European sector to make day-to-day business decisions. And some of these things have come like, for example, here. So this is the benchmarking dashboard that we provide back for operators in the UK, so they can understand how they're comparing with their competitors or with other people in the space around attrition, movement rate of members, how many people are joining, the average yield that's coming from the membership, and the average length of stay of their users. Now this is dummy data in here. As you can imagine, it'd be a great operator who had these kind of statistics, but it makes it incredibly useful for operators to see this in a processed and standardized and aggregated way. We're then able to work with Sport England and the government to help look at how many people are actually physically coming through our clubs on a day-to-day basis, who they are, the type of things they're doing, and critically, where they come from around sort of deprivation statistics, age groups, so that when we start talking to government and we want to talk about an older people's program or a children's program, we've got fantastic data and evidence to support the arguments that we're making and can prove the impacts that we're having. And never has this been sort of more critical than in the sort of COVID period. So we've been working extensively with Sport England to understand the social impact and the social value that their investment into sport and activity has been having. So with our partnership with Sheffield Hallam University, we've been able to calculate that for every £1 that's being invested by Sport England, £4 is being returned in terms of the impact upon health, education, well-being, and crime. And that really helps to elevate our position within government circles to justify the continued investment into sport and fitness. And this has been critical in supporting the work that UKActive do in lobbying for change, lobbying for different governance structures, and lobbying for support, and especially through this COVID period. And this is in this report here, the social solution report, we're able to demonstrate the value the physical activity sector plays in the UK and put a pounds and pence figure on that, about £3.6 billion generated back into the UK economy every year by the physical activity sector and the fitness facilities that are sharing data in this way. And finally, another good example here is the work we've done with the government and Grant Thornton, who administered the £100 million local authority recovery fund recently to help so many public sector operators here in the UK get through this difficult period. And this whole process has been driven and assisted by the DataHub. We're able to pre-populate application forms into this process to help people report what they would do with the money and how critical it would be, to identify the need for it in terms of the participation that's been lost as a result of the lockdowns and the ongoing impact that's going to have both financially and around participation and health levels in the UK. And critically now, the government were up for giving this money and providing it, but they wanted some kind of return on that. They wanted to understand the impact this money was having. And again, that's where this data hub is providing a fantastic resource. So we're now reporting that via a live dashboard that Sport England, Grant Thornton, the government can access, but also importantly, local authorities here in the UK can understand the work that their operator partners are doing and how that's collected up into a more collaborative sector, and getting that information in front of the government, in front of decision makers, in front of those who are justifying this increased investment in physical activity and fitness facilities. And that really brings us to the European Data Hub and why we're so excited to be working on this project across Europe. Because both in terms of what EuropeActive is setting out to achieve, specifically in their kind of the health and digital areas of the manifesto that David referenced, but also what COVID-19 has shown us is the power that high quality shared data can have when it comes to lobbying, generating growth, and increasing our influence with those people making decisions. Now, in kicking off this project, we understand that there's going to be key partners involved in making this happen. We've been through this journey in the UK, and we've understood how it is to most effectively unlock this information and bring it together to get us to that critical mass that has been essential over the last few months. So we're going to be working between sort of now and November in a big consultation process with leisure management systems and leisure management providers who will be key to unlocking this information, the operators themselves, who of course will provide the permission for this data to be accessed and to be shared, but also who will hopefully get massive value out of this initiative when we can sort of start to look at the health impact they're having in their communities, and benchmarking their performance. So we'll be talking to them about how we can get the most value back to operators. Suppliers, of course, especially those part of the President's Council, who will be facilitating this and helping us to delve deeper. And Alfonso will talk in a moment about how this is going to drive the work of ThinkActive, the research arm of EuropeActive, and that kind of participation information is going to be critical in the work that him and his team do. And of course, also with national associations, this work has really been, the partnership with UKActive that we've established has been really powerful, and it's UKActive and their lobbying expertise that have driven a lot of the success we've had. So of course, it's very important that across Europe, the other national associations are brought into this process and are able to feed in what they think is going to be most valuable from the data that we collect. And this isn't really just a technology project. This is a digital, it's a change management project, and we're really excited about getting stuck into this and making sure that everything we do is designed in a way that makes it as easy as possible for operators and partners, that it's API driven. Of course, aligns with all the appropriate security and compliance legislation, and provides intuitive interfaces and dashboards that are really usable for those people that want to take part. So that, again, this isn't just something that we do for the sake of doing it for reporting, that actually this data being aggregated and processed in this consistent way is going to make it much more usable and much more effective, much more valuable for all those supporting the initiative. And of course, that will be accompanied with training, with development. But critically, I love this kind of one sector approach idea that we're all doing this together. We're all singing off the same hymn sheet, and it's going to really change the dynamics and the relationships between operators, suppliers, national associations, regional governments, and of course, the EU collectively. Because what we're going to drive is regular high quality research outputs working with Alfonso and his team. We can test hypotheses quickly. For example, around the sort of the cases of COVID, the power that had in kind of getting sectors kind of reopened. That'd be something we can very quickly react to if we need to, and other future instances like that. And we'll also be able to continuously improve. We'll always be looking to refine this model, and that's the key with digitalization, and the key with creating a digital model is that whenever we need to change, we can. It'd be much easier to do so than if we hadn't gone through this process in the first place. So in building this strategy, we try to understand what data it is that we need to collect and to aggregate that's really going to have a powerful impact upon the sector and give us the outputs that we need. So what are these kind of key performance measures going to be? What does the sector believe are the key performance indicators? What insight will that generate? And how does that transform into a use case that's going to really help achieve this ambition of demonstrating the scale, the value, and the influence of the physical activity and fitness sector across Europe? And we're going to do that in four main areas. We're going to understand the club market, looking at kind of the segments of the market that are growing, that are reducing, working very closely with Deloitte and the European Market Fitness Report, and Deloitte will play a role in this as a kind of independent advisory board, independent advisors, quality assurance partner to ensure this data is as powerful as it can be. We'll be looking at the number of members. So this really links to that scale idea. How many members do we have as a sector? But then also what's going on in terms of attrition, joiners, leavers, and helping operators to benchmark their performance in those key areas. Looking at participation, this is all well and good knowing how many members we've got as a sector, but how many actively using is critical when we think about the health partnerships that we're looking to develop and aligning ourselves with the health industry more effectively. And what the participation numbers also allow us to do is calculate the impact we're having upon health metrics. So we're going to continue our work with Sheffield Hallam University and through Alfonso and ThinkActive to start then looking on a country by country basis at the instances of non-communicable disease that are being prevented as a result of engagement with our sector, and putting a sort of a euros and cents value on the savings that's being made as a result across Europe, the health savings that have been made across Europe. So this should be really powerful information when we look at the value that data, this sector produces, which should really help us in influencing the health industry to come closer to us and really position the physical activity sector at that front line of preventative healthcare, where we all know we should be and we all want to be. And finally, of course, the finance. We're a powerful sector. We employ an awful lot of people across Europe. We have high turnover companies. Incredibly important that we can bring that kind of club idea, finance idea together, and again work closely with Deloitte to make sure that's reflected in the way this sector is seen, this industry is seen by those in power. So finally, then, just before I close on here, I'll just give you a bit of an idea of kind of where we're going with this from now. So as I mentioned, we're now working with stakeholders extensively to understand how to design this project in the most effective way. We'll then, between sort of now and November, when this will have a sort of formal launch to the sector, we'll look at working with some pilot sites, working on some specific countries, most likely, to see about bringing this data together as quickly and effectively as we can, with some pilot suppliers, NMS providers, and of course operators. And then by the time we get to November, where we sort of communicate this more broadly, we'll have all the processes and sign-up plans finalised so that we can start to report back in spring 2022. And I think it's worth acknowledging here that we realise this isn't an easy project. It's not a project that will just come together instantly. There'll be an awful lot of consultation required and standards to be met, and we'll have to work with operators to define exactly what's meant by each expression and what a joiner is and what a lever is. And there'll be some countries here that move quicker than others, but we believe the overarching ambition of this project is going to be so powerful that the time taken and the process we're going to go through here is going to be worth an awful lot down the line. It's going to be incredibly powerful for the individual countries, but also in driving the work of EuropeActive and ThinkActive. So concluding sort of note from me really is we're incredibly excited to be getting started on the journey, and look forward to working with you all very closely soon. I've left my sort of details up on the screen here if anyone wants to sort of get in touch or reach out or have a conversation about this. But I think I'll pass over to Alfonso now, who's going to do a quick word on kind of how this links with ThinkActive, a bit more about what ThinkActive is and how we'll be working together.
I have two quick questions for you, Steve, just because I was I thought maybe someone who is listening might have a question about the KPIs. So you talked a little bit about that KPIs would need to be determined to I guess just to figure out what we are reporting on. But then on the framework side, you showed 4 impact areas. So I was just wondering, do those impact areas inform the KPIs or the other way around?
Both, actually, two sides of the same coin, really. So when we look at members, for example, members will be the collective term that we know we need to show, but then underneath that there'll be specific KPIs that will most likely be or are in the UK about joiners, leavers, member movement rate, member movement rate, and the average length of stay.
Yeah.
But again, to be perfectly honest with you, this is kind of up for debate now. So we'll learn from operators about what they think is going to be most valuable. We know that kind of examples worked here in the UK, but we'll be looking to build that out over the next few months. And it's the same with the other key areas as well. So we know that clubs, members, participation, and finance are key driving those 3 use cases. But what sits underneath those is being refined as we speak.
Definitely. I think it's just going to be such a powerful benchmarking tool because, a lot of the times we're really just holding on to the Deloitte report that comes out every year to get those statistics. And the idea that we may be able to access them even more regularly and more accurately with more input sources is really cool. Alfonso, talk to us about all of the amazing work you're doing with ThinkActive and how it's going to change the face of our industry.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer. I think that, to be honest, I think that we are facing a clear transformation. Okay, I think that the pandemic clearly showed the value and impact of an active regular behavior. No? So individuals active has a significant higher level of protection against the potential complications and risk related to COVID-19. And I think that is an opportunity for us to transform and modify the way in which the rest of society perceive our value, and especially other industries. So back in May this year, we put a draft strategic document, exploring how we could make a more sustainable and responsible health and fitness industry, okay? And we identified 4 key pillars, okay? Basically, we decided, okay, we have to do something about evidence and collecting data. Good, and we are already moving with 4 Global and Dr. Mann teams into this area. But we have to do this considering these 4 key pillars. The first one is the economic value of our industry, which means that we are an economic player that is with a significant, is at a level that has significant implications for society, okay? Now we are facing a fantastic transformation of the automotive industry, for example, and electric cars are going to transform dramatically the landscape of our streets, highways, etc. Nobody will never be happy with the historical performance of the automotive industry, contributing to the warming of our planet and the implications for our environment. But because they were a significant economic player, they were employing a lot of individuals, they were moving the economy, very significantly. There is no any single government in the planet that will never go against the automotive industry. They push the automotive industry through regulations and support, a lot of funding support, to transform the way in which we will be using cars, not by reducing the number of cars that we will be using, no, changing the energy that will move the cars, okay? So an energy that will be more acceptable from an environmental point of view. Why? Because the automotive industry is a significant economic player in society. We have to put our numbers to show that we are a significant economic player in our society, that we contribute with significant value to employment, GDP, employment in youth, employment of women, sustainable employment. We contribute to reduce the environmental challenges that the planet is facing, etc., etc. But because we are an economic player, now we considering that probably we have a direct impact of 28 billion euros in the GDP in Europe. But after you put the indirect support impact, and after you put the related activities linked to our industry, etc., and you can increase the perception of our significant value because it's already there. What we need is to know exactly how many people are paying for services within our industry, public support funding or individuals buying services or products or programs, and how many operators do we have, the clubs, the members, and the financial impact. These 3 elements are coming through the European DataHub project, and they will address pillar 1. Second pillar is about our social and economic value, as Steve discussed, how our industry that is already a significant economic player, by the way, is supporting the reduction of healthcare costs in chronic conditions. Direct savings that we are applying into society just because individuals are able to stay active. Second element, how we contribute to academic achievement of the individuals along the lifespan, how we reduce crime, and after how we contribute to this, sophisticated perception of the personal well-being, that if we transform this into the amount of money that governments will need to spend for individuals to have the same perception of well-being that they receive when they are doing exercise, socializing, and moving around with other people, the cost of this is a significant one, because we are saving this cost to the government as well.
Is it going to be hard to create those links, though? Because the feeling is, of course, that the more active you are, the less impact you are on the healthcare system.
No. It's not difficult. It's complicated.
It's different.
It's different. Claro, something is easy or something is difficult, no?
Yeah.
Claro, to climb to Mount Everest is complicated, but it's bloody difficult because you don't have oxygen there and you will probably die, But this is not difficult, no? This is just complicated. Why? Because the facts are there. The evidence are there. We just have to show the value, give this visibility, you know, ask for the credibility that our industry really need, and after, you know, improve the quality of the delivery of a significant part of our activity, so the visibility of those elements became easier to be recognized by the public, governments, media, etc. You know, it's complicated. It's not easy, but it's not difficult. You know.
I hear you. Like what you said something about the credibility of our industry. Like, what's holding us back, in your opinion? What's holding us back in terms of really establishing ourselves as a credible contributor?
Well, hombre, to be fair, we have room to improve as an industry, okay? Which means that we have to be much more responsible with our impact in society, and we have to really improve some of our traditional poor professional practices, you know, because, you know, bad things last in the mind and in the brain of people for longer, you know, and good things had a short, nice point of attraction. I think that we have a lot of history that, you know, has been pushing back our industry for many, many years. Okay, fantastic. Now we are here just showing you what is the real data, what is our impact, economic player, social value. The third one is how we support the development of a sustainable planet, you know, how we support active transport, because, you know, active people are individuals with an extremely positive social behavior regarding the use of scarce resources, including healthcare, accessibility and services, but at the same time are individuals that are much more concerned with the protection of the planet. And a lot of research is showing this already, you know. We want armies of active individuals transforming the way in which we will use the energy in the next centuries, so we can save our planet now, you know.
Yep.
If you check the 17 goals of the Sustainable Development Agenda of United Nations, we contribute to the 17 of them, you know. And I was especially happy this morning when I saw the Sustainable Development Report of SATS, main Scandinavian operator, that is already reporting the social impact and sustainable strategies and actions that they are doing using the GRI criteria, you know, that is the reporting of the Sustainable Development Agenda of United Nations. So they identify that each of the actions that they are doing are linked to a GRI goal that will become effectively the KPIs of the European DataHub or any other projects. You know? And the fourth pillar that because we discussed four in our document in May, is how we improve our ability to sort your question, no, to get this credibility, how we improve our advocacy, how we say, hey guys, we are here and we are good. Not because we said that we are good, not because the data is saying that we are good. We are good. Other industries and governments and stakeholders are recognizing our value. And we are already involved in a number of strategic discussions about our future. That is what already happened today in UK as a result of the UK DataHub data, you know, that as soon as, you know, government decide we need to help the sector to recover, take 100 million pounds, the UK DataHub was able to provide the data automatically on the impact, which means that government and stakeholders can make informed decisions. Yep. Not, let me see, I don't know, more or less. No, you know, you have the data, so you can provide the specific number that will support the decision-making process. And I think that for us, is a really transformative challenge that we face now. But what we need really is an army of crazy fanatics in the industry uploading data every single day to the European DataHub. So we can report immediately, massively, millions and millions and millions of services, visits, memberships, clubs, you know, and then we'll basically show the current value and impact that we have already as an industry, you know.
Just to build on that, I think it's really important the point Alfonso made there, that it's not just about focusing on one issue and sticking there. I think the key here, when you have sort of data collected in this way, is that it's flexible, and we can sort of move as government agendas change and as things change. So for now, we're going to focus on COVID recovery, and it's going to be really important to help monitor the way the sector recovers, so we can make the case for funding if we need to help people out. But that's not going to be the issue forever. Alfonso quite rightly brings up the idea of sustainability and the focus currently on that. So we can very quickly in the next year or so say, oh, well, this is the impact we're having in that issue. We can then translate that to the next. It could be city planning. It could be back into other different types of health conditions, mental health, well-being, whatever it might be. The focus on young people and crime prevention, that type of thing. That there's enough of an evidence base that underpins physical activity's role in society in such a broad way. When we have this work all together, we can kind of point it at whatever societal issue we need to make the case at that given time. And I think that ability to pivot, that flexibility, is really going to come into its own over the next couple of years.
I totally see the power in that. Like in my time at Basic Fit, we were able to really start getting the customer data accessible and reportable, and all of a sudden, you had a question and you could actually look to the data and actually confirm your theory or disprove it. So it took a lot of guesswork and the feeling element that often misleads us out of the way, because you can see the evidence. What, like, can you give any more insight over like the UK DataHub? Like how many end users does it represent, or is that something?
Yeah, no. So in terms of end users, it's nearly 20 million now. Wow. People actually, kind of unique individuals who are captured in there, and their activity habits captured in there. But the critical thing is linking that individual to what it is that they're doing. So we in the sort of the belt and braces kind of work we do, we can look at the trends in group exercise, for example, very quickly and very easily. As you said, if someone's got a question, we can answer it. What's the trending activity over the last 3 or 4 years? What are different segments of the population doing? Is an activity more popular with 20-year-old women than it is with 55-year-old men? And what should operators be putting on to cater for a particular client base? That kind of data, as I referenced earlier, from 850 million visits is there to be asked questions of in that sense. And that's really critical. When we were trying to make the case around isolation and loneliness a couple of years ago, the sports minister in the UK became the minister for sport and loneliness, and it was massively powerful to be able to say straight away that we as a sector were looking after, on a weekly basis, whatever it might be, 5-6 million older people at the most risk of isolation. Or when we want to show the work we do in deprived communities, we're not just an industry that's about glitzy clubs, affluent people, fit and active all the time. To show that the work we do in the most deprived communities in the UK, there's this many people engaged, this is the type of thing they're doing. So if you want to then put on programs or initiatives that are targeting those populations, don't just have a guess at what they are. We can actually say, this is the sort of activity that's most popular with those people. This is the time of day you should be putting on. This is how you should staff it, how you should run it. So yeah, it's back to my sort of previous point, really, that once that data is there and it's in place, there are a million questions you can ask of it, and the end cases and the use cases are endless, really.
And I guess one of the really relevant questions right now, as we're looking at the end of the very long tunnel of lockdown, is do we have information already from the UK that we can reflect on in terms of the members coming back to the club? Are there any learnings that you can share to help operators get back on their feet again?
Yeah, we did some modeling work during the first lockdown, which came out incredibly accurate, but sort of over 90% accuracy in terms of the way people came back after that first lockdown. We then kind of repeated that work again ready for the new year. but unfortunately that was kind of scuppered by the government sort of locking down again. So that didn't have a huge kind of impact in the sector. But what we are starting to see now is those kind of recovery percentages. And just to sort of share a little bit with you on that, the recovery rate is good. You know, people are coming back regularly, and we're kind of reporting this to the government on a weekly basis now. It's not quite as strong as the first couple of lockdowns. You know, the number of people is higher because April and May are generally more buoyant months for the industry than the sort of November, December period. But the percentages are actually lower. So, you know, I think we've got to do an awful lot to get those people back through the door. But group exercise, of course, is the key to that. You know, we're seeing more men coming back than women, and women have been disproportionately affected by the whole COVID pandemic. Of course, you know, we've seen this kind of shift back to traditional household roles, and a lot of the kind of research that, you know, I do in my role in women in sport, and you would have done with the role in women in fitness. But yeah, we need to lobby hard to get group exercise back as quickly as we can, because the longer it stays off, the more women especially are being not forced to be inactive is probably not quite fair, but they're not having the same opportunities that they wanted to do, and not having the offer that they most affiliate with and are most engaged with being provided for them.
I mean, I think that's really important for operators to address, because, you know, one of the environmental elements that's really important in any fitness club is the gender balance. And if it goes too far one way, then it makes it harder for that female member base to come back. So I think kind of campaigning and positioning and making sure and watching that statistic is pretty important for operators on the rebound.
Yeah,
well, cool. Well, great. I think we're at about our time limit for this webinar. I don't know if anybody else has any closing remarks or something funny or wise or anything. No.
Jennifer, see, one thing, please, from my side. May I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that it's important, and I think that it's critical to recognize that the involvement of the President Council members is critical in this challenge. Okay, both from as Dave reflected and pointed out previously. I think that is critical because we are, you know, asking the key players to be formally involved in this transformation, and especially, as you refer, because we are bringing the traditional part of the industry, the big operators, through the President's Council of Operators, you know, and on the other side, the other players within the new ecosystem of the industry, you know. And I think this element of digital and tech and suppliers, you know, these brilliant minds will drive our agenda as well, and will provide us with the questions for us to interrogate the data, you know. And I think that is important that we are connecting this element of transformation with the ones that will transform this, and we don't know in which direction yet, you know, and the other guys that will be able to deliver services and programs for a massive amount of individuals that are the big operators. So I think that is a really interesting ecosystem of transformation that we are building. That's it.
Here. I totally agree with what you're saying, and I think that you know, our sector has come together more than I've ever seen in terms of a collaboration and cooperation. All parties, whether it's in competing markets or not, and I think that EuropeActive has done a fantastic role of continuing to facilitate that collaboration and support, so that we can come out of this and be the solution that we need to be for our population.
Great. Well, I think we're just about there. So I'm going to round off as President of EuropeActive, say thank you very much, Jennifer, for hosting it, Dr. Steve Mann, Professor Alfonso Jimenez, and I guess I'm going to steal a quote from Alfonso there. It's not difficult, it's just complicated. And if we walk away with that, and we walk away with the work that these academics are doing, and I take it back to all the people who are watching this and sponsor this council, it's one thing to listen, it's another thing to get involved. Steve needs data, he needs it willingly coming. As Alfonso says, you need it immediately. You need it to be able to show that impact, and we need to drive forward and work together. So this isn't just about learning about what we're doing. This, from all the people who are listening, is about contributing. And we will keep these webinars going, and there's some great people lined up to speak who understand some real detail, not just about our industry, but the impact of other industries on what we're doing. But let's make this a two-way thing. These guys can't do what they're doing if you're not opening your doors and making your data and information available and listening and buying in and making a difference. So on that note, I'm going to bring it to an end. Thanks very much once again to the panel. Thank you everyone for listening, and we will meet again shortly, I'm sure. Cheers and bye-bye.